It is a sweltering August afternoon in 1392. A forest near Le Mans, France. The air is thick, humid, and silent. King Charles VI rides at the head of his army. He is 23 years old. He is known as Charles the Beloved. He is healthy, wealthy, and the most powerful man in Europe. But the heat is getting to him. He is wearing heavy velvet and chainmail. Sweat drips into his eyes. He feels paranoid. He keeps looking over his shoulder, convinced that the shadows of the trees are assassins waiting to strike. Then it happens. A single moment that will destroy a kingdom. A tired page boy dozes off on his horse. He loses his grip. His lance drops. It hits a helmet on the ground with a loud, violent clang. In any other moment, this would be an accident. But for Charles, that sound is a trigger. It snaps something deep inside his brain. The king does not see his loyal soldiers. He sees enemies. He draws his sword. He screams, "Forward against the traitors! They wish to deliver me to the enemy." He charges. He attacks his own brother. He slashes wildly at his own bodyguards. For an hour, the King of France wages war against his own army. He kills 4 knights. He chases his brother through the woods, foaming at the mouth. It takes 5 men to finally tackle him, wrestle the sword from his grip, and tie him to a wagon. When he wakes up, the rage is gone. But something else has taken its place. Something far worse. He looks at his hands. He begins to tremble. He whispers to his doctors that he is not a man of flesh and blood. He tells them he is transformed. He believes he is made entirely of glass. And if anyone touches him, even a single finger, he will shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. Historians today call this the glass delusion. In the late Middle Ages, glass was a new material, magical, transparent, and incredibly fragile. For Charles, this metaphor became his literal reality. He creates a set of rules to keep himself alive. First, he stops moving. He sits motionless for hours, terrified that the simple act of sitting down too fast will cause his buttocks to shatter like a dropped wine glass. Second, he armors himself. He calls for the royal tailors. He demands they modify his wardrobe. He forces them to sew thick iron rods into the lining of his clothes. He wears this reinforced suit day and night. It is an iron cage designed to hold his fragile body together. Third, he isolates himself. He bans everyone from the room. When his wife, Queen Isabeau, tries to visit him, he screams in agony. He does not recognize her. He sees her as a threat, a solid object that might bump into him and end his life. He shouts at his guards, "Who is that woman? Get her out. She will break me." For months, the King of France rots in his chambers. He refuses to bathe. He refuses to change his clothes. He believes the friction of a wet cloth against his skin will snap his glass limbs. He is covered in lice. He smells of decay and filth. His hair becomes a matted mess. The most powerful monarch in Christendom has been reduced to a frightened animal, shivering in his own waste, protected only by his iron rods and his terrifying delusion. The court tries to hide the madness. But you cannot hide a king forever. In January 1393, Queen Isabeau organizes a grand party to lift the king's spirits. It is called the Bal d'Ardence, the Ball of the Burning Men. It is meant to be a night of fantasy and joy. It will end in a massacre. The king and 5 of his best knights decide to perform a dance. They dress up as wild men, mythical beasts of the forest. To make the costumes realistic, they are sewn into tight linen suits. These suits are soaked in resin, pitch, and wax to stick layers of hemp and fur to their bodies. They are quite literally walking candles waiting for a spark. The king enters the hall. The guests laugh. They dance. For a moment, Charles forgets his glass body. Strict orders are given to the guards. No torches are allowed near the dancers. But fate is cruel. The king's brother, the Duke of Orleans, arrives late. He is drunk. He sees the savages dancing and wants to know who is hiding under the masks. He grabs a torch. He leans in close. Too close. A single ember falls from the torch. It lands on a dancer's leg. The wax ignites instantly. There is no time to react. The dancer explodes into flames. He screams, trying to rip the costume off, but he cannot. It is sewn to his skin. The fire spreads. The dancers are chained together for the performance. As one burns, he pulls the others into the inferno. The ballroom turns into a slaughterhouse. The nobles panic. The air fills with the smell of burning hair and roasting flesh. The king stands frozen. He watches his friends melt alive in front of him. He is inches away from the flames. He is moments away from death. He is saved only by the Duchess of Berry. She recognizes him. She grabs her heavy skirt and throws it over the king, tackling him to the floor and smothering the sparks before they can catch. Charles survives, but 4 of his knights burn to death in agony. They die slowly, over days, their bodies fused to their costumes. The king was already cracked. But after watching his friends burn, his mind shatters completely. After the fire, the king never truly returns to sanity. The beloved king is now known only as Charles the Mad. While the king hides in his room, convinced he is glass, the wolves begin to circle. Without a strong leader, the royal dukes begin to fight for control of the country. They steal from the treasury. They tax the peasants until they starve. Paris becomes a city of blood and civil war. But the true predator is watching from across the channel. King Henry V of England sees the weakness. He knows France is paralyzed. In 1415, he invades. The French army is leaderless. At the Battle of Agincourt, the flower of French chivalry is slaughtered in the mud. Thousands of knights die while their king sits in a dark room, worrying about his glass arms. The final betrayal comes in 1420. Charles is so mentally broken, he doesn't even realize he has lost the war. He signs the Treaty of Troyes. With one stroke of a trembling pen, he disinherits his own son. He gives the crown of France to the King of England. The Glass King didn't just break himself. He allowed his entire country to be smashed to pieces. Charles VI spends his final years abandoned. His wife leaves him. His friends are dead. The people who once cheered for him now curse his name. He dies in 1422, after ruling for 42 years. But he lived most of them in a prison of his own making. History books remember the battles. They remember the treaties. But they often forget the human horror at the center of it all. Imagine the terror of living every single second believing you are about to break. Imagine the isolation of a man who cannot be hugged, cannot be held, and cannot be loved. Charles VI was the King of France. But in the end, he was just a frightened man, made of glass, waiting for the world to let him fall. And eventually, it did.